delighted that despite our challenges, you are here with us. I'm excited. I don't know about you because we're having a special guest this afternoon for our second spotlight interview. The last time we were here, we had Elder Duken Williams, and what a wonderful interview it was. This evening, we are delighted to have Dr. Harvey with us. And his tour is a very inspiring one, very motivated. And I'm sure that you want to call your neighbors, you want to call your friends, you want to subscribe, you want to like, because it promises to be a very inspiring interview. We ask you, please don't move your dial because we're up for a very inspiring interview. Dr. Harvey, we just want to welcome you to our Wesfed Spotlight. We're happy that you take the time out to join us this evening, Pastor Harvey. Welcome, sir.
I am delighted to be with you in the Westmoreland Youth Federation, and to all your viewers on YouTube and Facebook, various platforms that you're on. It is my joy to be here and to share with you and all the leaders of the Federation in Westmoreland.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Harvey. Now, before we begin this interview, we will be praying at this time. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you again for this interview as we are about to go into it with Dr. Harvey YouTube channel. May you inspire them and help them that despite their challenges, they can overcome. You this Wesfed Spotlight and help that you'll go places, I pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. Amen. Now, Dr. Harvey, I remember we invited you to the parish of Westmoreland a couple years ago. I think it was 2013 at the Petersfield High School. And what a story you shared with us, Dr. Harvey. It's still in my mind that those Mina, that red suitcase that you went to at NCU, those days still linger in my mind, Dr. Harvey. And I can tell you have a story there, and persons might be seeing you, Dr. Harvey. A matter of fact, the name, the doctor, a lot of persons might be saying, wow, it's such an easy achievement to be a doctor. But we want to bring you back, Pastor Harvey. I know you're from the parish of Westmoreland. Could you take us back in your childhood years? I know you grew up in the parish of Westmoreland, but I know the listeners want to hear in terms of the district you're from and in your childhood years. Dr. Harvey, talk to us.
Thank you very much, President Williams. I am a proud product of Westmoreland. Proud product of Westmoreland. I have been there, and I think you're having a challenge there, so you need to make me co-host so I can spotlight the camera for you.
All right, we're working on that, Pastor Harvey. All right, so we will make you co-host.
Okay, so I can help you with that. Okay, there you go. So proud product of Westmoreland, born and bred. I often say it is the rustic country boy. Born in Red Hills, Westmoreland, grew up in 3 communities that begin with the letter B: Barham, Bamboo, and Burn Savannah. I grew up in those communities to a humble parents and God has been good to me. Started out down there in Westmoreland. Went to Friendship Primary, Mount Grace All Age. Didn't do so well in those schools because I had my own challenges and limitations. Couldn't read, though I had those opportunities. And because of mitigating circumstances, that happened. So that was the beginning of my genesis down there in that neck of the woods.
I took out something, Pastor Harvey, out of what you said a while ago. You said that you grew up in the country, and you stated that you were not able to read. No, Pastor Harvey, you are a man that go through the different eras of life. I noticed that you serve as district pastor. You serve at NCU and several civic society you would have served. Now, I want you to talk to us, Pastor Harvey. Take us through that journey. Did you just go into ministry like that, Pastor? Or it was a call for you to go into ministry?
No. As I said, for all our young people who are viewing, the lesson that I want you to get at the onset is that it doesn't matter where you start in life, as long as you know where you are going. As I said, I started out from a very humble beginning. My parents out there, my parents were not married. We were born out of wedlock. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers, and we grew up there. At a tender age, during that time where, you know, it was difficult, my father had a friend, and my father's friend encouraged him because he wanted to go to the United States of America. So he encouraged him to get married to a lady that was not my mother. He did that. And when I was 10 years old, he migrated to the United States. So my mother was the one that was left with us. She was a dressmaker. And with my other siblings, there were days when I could not go to school because I had to help my mother. And for the few days that I would go to primary school, then there were days when I had my challenges. I couldn't read. I remember going to the class and Miss Bihari was there and I was just winking because I couldn't read. So I would hide away from school, go to the river with my friends. And one of those escapades, I almost lost my life. I almost drowned. But looking back, I can see it is divine providence that brought me through. So from there, I was there going to from there to Mount Grace All Age. And then we had some excellent teachers who tried with me while I was going there, a number of these teachers, and they tried. We had one of your Federation persons now who served at that school. We had Miss Adeline Smith, we had Mrs. Sawyers, we have Thomas, a number of those persons. But they tried with me, but it did not pencil out because I had other challenges. So it so happened that I out school. In those days, we say we out school. So I was now out primary school and to go to secondary school. I could not matriculate in Frome Technical, Frome Secondary at that time. So I can recall my mother went and begged Mr. Hughes, was the principal then, to take me because during that time they had vocational areas, mechanic, welding, and all of that. So my mother went and begged Mr. Hughes to take her son, so that he can do something with his life. So I went there and, you know, I didn't do well in the school. They tried with me with SSC exams and still didn't do anything with them. I left there, they gave me a school leaving certificate. And so I was out. My mother was still there wondering what is going to happen to me. Sent me to George's Plain to learn trade with a mechanic down there. I wouldn't call his name right now. And he used to send me to tie out cows instead of teaching me the mechanic trade. And I got fed up and said, I'm not going back. So I was there languishing all around. People say that that little black boy is not going to come to anything. I was walking barefooted, tear up bottom trousers, and they said he was not going to come to anything. But it so happened, and this is where the transformation began. And I want our young people to get this. It was not until there was a youth crusade that was held in
Hold on, Dr. Harvey, hold on. I don't want to go to the youth crusade as yet, because boy, this tour is getting very inspiring and very interesting, Dr. Harvey, because for those young people who are joining us via YouTube, we are speaking to Dr. Michael Harvey. You would have heard his story, and for those of you who are now on, we ask you to just call up your friends, because he will be sharing in the next moment where the transformation began in his early life. He stated to us that he grew up in country as a black boy, and now we are going to hear his transition. He said that he back then they used to say that he old school, but now you would use a different term. But Pastor Harvey, now we want to hear your transformation with that Dulcimina. I'm here waiting to hear the red Dulcimina.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Pastor.
So this is where it began. And so it started from that youth crusade that was conducted by Leonard Leslie. And you know, you had Lesford, Tardeel, and those Cape Taylor, and those were the young people, Michelle, Marsha, and Anne. Those were the young people. So in my church, that was the church. So the young man had that crusade. He invited me to come to the series, but I was actively involved in the community. I was playing on #1 domino table for Lion CC. So I went down that evening to play dominoes with my partner, Noel Forbes. And we were there. He drew my hand and was about to start the game. Then something just is like someone spoke to me. And I said to my domino partner, hey, I was invited to that crusade up by the church. And I am going to go tonight. So guess what? As soon as the meeting is finished, I will return. And so I left him there, and a young man accompanied me to the crusade. And leaving it, he said, Harvey, it must be a young lady that you see up there that you want to go to church. I said, no, I was invited by a friend of mine, and I'm going to the meetings, after which I will return. So I went that night, and I sat 3 benches from the back. And the topic he spoke on that night was, as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the coming of the Son of Man. I sat there. I have stopped going to Sunday school long time, and I was now there. And looking back, I can tell you it's the Holy Spirit, but I felt different. He was preaching, and then he started calling. I felt the urge to get up, but I could not. I was still sitting down. He continued to appeal. Then the next thing I found out is that I was standing, clutching on tightly to the bench, and tears running down my cheek. Now you can understand, for me to be in church and crying, but that was it. He called again. And the next thing I knew is that I was at the altar. And after the service, I came out, and my friend was saying to me, let's go, we're going to play domino. I said, no, I am heading home. And on my way home, I was crying. It's as if I was broken. There was something taking place on the inside that it was novel to me. Never had that experience before. And so I went home all that night. I slept and got up early in the morning, went to work. That time I was working at From Factory at the wash stand that I used to wash vehicles. That was my first job. And I went to work.
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that, Dr. Harvey? So you were actually working as a car wash in a car wash area, washing car. Because I want our young people to listen to the story, you know, because they see, you know, Dr. Harvey having doctor on your name, and they might be wondering, boy, but your story, Dr. Harvey, that you're sharing, you used to wash car.
It seems to be having some. Yes, definitely. My first job was here. So that was
all right. So we're talking to Dr. Michael Harvey. You would have listened to his story. We are in the Wesfed Spotlight, where we share inspiring story that will help our young people. Some of us believe that we cannot make it because of our challenges in life, but listen to these stories of persons. It can help to inspire us, to encourage us that despite our challenges in life, we can make it. We encourage you, my viewers, to persist. He would have shared his story that he's coming from a humble beginning, grew up in the country of Westmoreland, and you would have heard his transforming story. And Dr. Harvey, you're back with us. Yes, welcome back,
yes, it seems like we're having some technical glitches, but I'm back. Yeah.
Yes, we're
yes.
Hearing
so
you.
I was.
We're hearing
yes.
you, Dr. Harvey.
Okay, so I was relating that I was working at the wash stand then.
Yes.
And
yes.
So I went there after work. I went back to the meetings, and it so happened that I went. Can recall that Sunday morning I went to the home of the young man that was doing the campaign, Leonard Leslie. And when I went to him, he was cleaning his floor, and I went to him and I said, "Leonard, man, I've made up my mind. I want to be baptized." And remember, Leonard, the evangelist, was preaching for people to come to the Lord. And when I told him that I was going to be baptized, he turned to me and said, "Harvey, you really want to get baptized?" No, no, no. I said, "Yes, I want to be baptized." And it was, probably unbelievable to him because of my involvement in the community, playing dominoes all over the place and all of that. So I decided I was going to do it. I went home and I told my mother that they are all from the Sunday church, Sunday worshipers. I told her I was going to get baptized. My mother didn't say a word. I said, "I need my clothes." She said, "Okay, don't worry. I'll take the clothes." So in my mind, though I was going to get baptized in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, my mother was so happy that she wouldn't say anything to discourage me, because in her mind, for her son to say he's going to get baptized, it is the greatest news that she would have heard in all her life so far. And so I went that Sabbath afternoon, the 10th of August, 1985. And I went and surrendered my life to the Lord in baptism. And I can tell you, that day, I remember having gotten baptized. We used to keep church in the home, and my brother used to tie his head and you'd have church. At that time, I couldn't pray. He was the one leading on. But I remember I sung this song when I was baptized the 10th of August, 1985. I was traveling along and that old dusty road, and the Savior I met by the way. I decided to follow wherever he goes. I'll never look back again. I'll never look back. I'll never look back. I'll never look back again. For the road I'm on, it's a heavenly one. I'll never look back again. That was it, brother. And remember, when I got baptized, go ahead.
I thought, Dr. Harvey, that you're just a preacher and motivational speaker. I didn't know you're a singer at all.
You see, the Lord has helped me to take an eclectic view to life. So you have to be multidimensional.
Yes,
that
sir.
is why I'm talking to young people. So here it is. I know you don't have time to get all of my sources. I'm condensing it for you. So yes. When I got baptized the 10th of August, 1985, I was 21 years old. So you can know my age now. I got baptized the 10th of August, 1985. But I had in that church all the professions you can think of. The only profession that did not come from that church was a pastor. So there were times when I got up to speak and my subject and my verb did not agree. Then they would sat me down and instruct me. I was teachable. I wanted to learn. 3 months after I became a member, they didn't know that I couldn't read, but they elected me to be a deacon and an assistant Sabbath school teacher, and I did not decline. You know what I did? Let me tell you the secret. I took that quarterly. At that time, I was staying by Michael Williams' house because they didn't want me to go back to my home, lest they feel that I was going to leave the church and go back out into the world. So first, I was staying at Sister Mildred Leslie's house. Then from there to Michael Williams. He was a teacher in training to become a teacher at Sam Sharp. So I stayed at his house. And I went home with the quarterly, you know, the quarterly that we have now. I placed it on the bed and I knelt down. And this was the prayer that I prayed. Lord, if you help me to read, I will serve you for the rest of my life. That is where the transformation began. And so in the church, about 6 months after the teacher left, I was now promoted to be the teacher. And all I can tell you, somebody marked the blank and I prayed. And when I prayed, that's all I remember. Until the lesson was finished, somebody said, Harvey, you did well. What did I do? I do not know. Don't ask me. But that was the feedback that I got. And being in the church, going in the church, taking part, the folk would sit me down, all those teachers I mentioned earlier, Mrs. Sawyers, Ivette Thomas, Mrs. Samuels, who is now deceased. Those people would take me aside and they would teach me, they would guide me so that I could learn some basics. And it started from there till they elected me to be AY lead. And one day, there was a gentleman by the name of Patrick Smith. He came from West Indies College and he came to promote Adventist education. And I sat there and I listened to him and I said, man, that is interesting. I would want to go to West Indies College.
All right, Dr. Harvey. All right, I will stop you right there because I want to bring to the attention of the viewers that you got baptized and you made a transformation. You were not able to read. You are a member of the church, now baptized. Your mother now is happy for you. They elected you as a deacon, as a Sabbath school superintendent.
Sabbath
You
school
were not
teacher.
able to
Sabbath
read.
school teacher.
Sabbath school teacher, you're not able to read well or to even speak the English language well, but persons would have taught you back then. And now, Pastor Harvey, we don't have the time to share, for you to share all of your story, but you would have now moved on to university. So you would have started to share with us, persons came to the church and was promoting NCU. So I want you to take us there now, Pastor Harvey. Your transformation to NCU and now becoming a pastor.
Okay, so it was West Indies College then. And so I remember one Sabbath afternoon, I was going down Solas area, that is a part of the community. And I saw this gentleman by the name of Brian Pudan. And he came up to me and he said, Harvey, I heard you're doing well in the church. And he went into his pocket and he gave me $200. At that time, the deposit at West Indies College was $350. And all my savings that I had was $150 because I used to help my mother. My sister was going to States, and so I used to help my mother with that. So all I had was $150, and I know my Brian gave me 200, so I now had the $350 to pay the deposit for West Indies College. Mm-hmm. And I went to my mother and said, Mama, I'm going to college. Mama said, Godfrey, you know I don't have any money. How are you going to go? You know you are here helping me with your brothers and sisters. What is going to happen when you are gone? I said, Mama, I'm going to pray and ask God to provide a job for my brother. And if he does that, then it's a clear indication that I must go. So in a week's time, my brother, Garfield Harvey, got a work at Frome. So I went to Mama and said, Mama, that's a sign. I have to go. So Mama went in, and all I had, let me tell you, my mother had given me a Dulcinea. I don't know if these young people know. It's like a suitcase now with one of the latches spoiled. So she put in that Dulcinea. Mas Fred Coot, who is now dead, gave me a jacket. So I had that jacket. I had a white pants and a red socks. And my mother put 3 briefs that I had in there, 2 shirts, a cup, a saucer, a knife and a fork, and a little Dutch pot. And she put some covering, a sheet spread and the cover in there. And my mother said to me, Godfrey, take this and go. And always remember that you have your mother's prayer. I took that with my little Dulcinea with the car tie up on it, went down and head straight to West Indies College. Country boy going into town. So when I went up there, I went to registration. They asked me, what are you here for? I said to them, I'm here for an education. Mr. Smith came and said, anyone who wants an education must come to West Indies College. I am here. They said, you have money? I said, no, all I have is the $350 for deposit.
Yeah.
Then Mrs. Dowes and Aunt Hazel said to me, okay, so what you're here to study? I said, I don't know. All I want is, I want an education. And then Aunt Hazel said, okay, I'm going to register you to become a pastor because I think you will be a good pastor. Right there, she said that. And then she sent me to Canary to work. That time, it was $2.50 an hour to work to Canary for full-time work so that I can work, earn some money. Then I had to do pre-college because I had to make sure that I could matriculate into college. So I had to spend 1 year in pre-college going through the rigors and all of that so that I could pass the adult exam so that I could be able to go in to the college. Study hard, work in Canary, 12 hours. When contract came in, I couldn't leave. I had to stay there and do that. So I started there. That was where it began. Work my way through school, sell books during summertime, work in the dorm as a monitor, worked hard. It was a school of hard knocks. Remember going to church, one pair of shoes with a hole in the bottom. So when I go to chapel, I couldn't kneel down because people would see the hole in my shoes bottom. So that is where I am coming from. So started there, went through, I graduated in 1993 with a bachelor's degree to West job was to be working with the doctors. And I worked with our colporters. And then from there, went to pastoral work. And then back in the office as a director for publishing. And during that time, I went back to school. They asked me to serve, having served as a publishing director. Then they asked me to serve as youth director. And while I was doing my youth stint, I went back to college, did my master's in counseling psychology with emphasis in marriage and family, graduated in 2005. And then from there, I went to the North, where I served as president for the mission there, transitioned it to a conference, from there to the university as church pastor, then vice president for spiritual affairs. And while I was there during that time, I started the PhD in education and leadership and graduated in 2015 with my PhD in education and leadership. So all of that is what God has done for the rustic country boy that came from the parish of Wesfed. But I can't say it was all by myself. There were a number of persons who poured themselves in me and gave me the opportunity. And I will always be indebted to those individuals who have poured themselves out in me. Time would not allow me, but I can tell you some of them. Herbert Thompson was one of those. He's a great orator. And he was the one who challenged me. He says, Harvey, you're going to live by your mouth. So if you're going to live by your mouth, you have to learn to speak and you have to learn to articulate. So you must go to Toastmasters Club. And he was one of those persons who challenged me to become an excellent communicator. And people hear me speak now and wonder where the passion is coming from. I am not following cunningly devised fables or invented stories to tell you what God can do in the life of someone who surrenders to him. I am exhibit A to what God can do. So wherever you are, young people, it doesn't matter. People may not believe in you, but God has a plan for you. And once God has a plan for you, if you stay within the line and allow him to work for you, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. This is just the beginning of this story because God has done so many things for me. I told you about my father went away. Well, let me give you this part so you can hear it because, my mother is no longer here with us because she died a couple of years ago. But God has allowed me to baptize my mother and to baptize my father. And my father was married, his wife died. My mother was married, her husband died. And I had the privilege of marrying, not only baptizing my father and my mother, but to marry my mother and my father. And just to tell you how good God is to me and my story. So I am here to tell you that, listen, you will go hell or high water. God is good, and there is no way Harvey is going. Harvey will be here until God says Harvey will be no more.
Dr. Harvey, your story will take us from now until next week if we allow you to go. We don't have the time, Dr. Harvey, but I'm sure that the viewers, they're inspired by your story, Dr. Harvey, coming from a country black boy. Now you have your PhD, you moved to director, you serve at the union, you sit in different areas, and you're a humble man.
I've never served at the union.
Dr. Harvey,
Never served at the union. Was elected to serve for
you
youth
serve at
director.
NTU.
Elected to serve for youth director for the union. I held that position for 2 hours. Then they sent me to North to be the president over there. So that is the closest I got to the union there.
Yeah.
But just want to make it clear because you know,
serve at NTU.
right?
You serve at
Definitely.
NTU though. Yes, yes.
Definitely as vice president and church pastor.
Yes. No, Dr. Harvey, I know a lot of persons who knew you back then would have, I'm going to put you on the spot, Dr. Harvey, because a lot of persons are watching now and say, no, that is not Dr. Harvey I know. Dr. Harvey is a rough man and he barely have smile on his face and is always a harsh man. What you have to say to those persons, Dr. Harvey, in terms of your transformational journey? Because a lot of persons think that boy is a rough man and they used to camp with you and you decide to make certain rules and you're at now, Dr. Harvey. Talk to us.
Well, you know, it's a journey, but I can tell you,
yes.
I am a disciplinarian, and my young people will tell you that I protect them like the horn of heaven. So once the parents send their children to West Canuka, and we have all our leaders that were there serving, all our youth leaders, White Girl, we have Shippy Dodd, we have Adeline Simit, we have Revi Swaby. We have all of these young people. We have Timothy, we have Lex. They know that once those people, parents send their children to the camp, I am protecting them. And so I was a disciplinarian protecting them. One day, a young man came to me, here it is, and he said to me, Pastor Harvey, you remember me? I said, no, I have served with so many. You know what the young man said to me? I will always remember you, Pastor Harvey. You were firm, but you were fair, and we always love you for that. So there it is. So on the journey, people don't see, they don't know your background. So you're coming from the school of hard knocks, and you are going through with all the difficulties and all the challenges. So sometimes when you look at my facial expression, then you may not know until you come close to me to see how a warm and loving and congenial person that I am. Then you will not find a more lovable person than I am. So in my transition, there were rough moments, but on my journey, God has allowed me. And here what's where brought the difference. God brought me to study the importance of emotional intelligence. That was my dissertation: emotional intelligence, leadership practices, and pastoral effectiveness. And once I was going through that emotional intelligence, one, you have to be self-aware. You have to know yourself. You have to know your limits. You have to know your strengths and you know your weaknesses. Then it calls for self-management or self-control. You have to do that. Then social awareness. You have to be aware of your environment. Then it calls for relationship management. You have to have the ability to manage relationships. And in my research, I have found out empirical data that 80% of those who lead, based on those I sampled, in Jamaica, Africa, America, and Jamaica, that 80% of those who I sampled experience emotional deficiency. So they were EQ deficiency. So what that is saying, that in order for you to do well, it's not so much your cognitive development. Your IQ is just 20%. But if you are the brightest and you can't relate to people, you're not going to succeed. So in order for you to succeed, you need to be high on emotional intelligence. And once we get that going, manage relationships, there will be greater effectiveness in the church. We live together with one another. So right now, you can't find a pastor who is more suave than Harvey, because I've been to the school of hard knocks. I've been there, done that, and I know what it is now to value people, because our greatest asset is people. People first.
Yes, yes. I'm happy. I'm happy that Dr. Harvey, that you would have shared that aspect of your life with us, because a lot of persons might be thinking otherwise. But we're happy, Dr. Harvey, that you would have shared the other side, which a lot of persons watching us would have learned, and a lot of persons who close with you would have understand your level of reasoning and your warmth and your love and your passion for young people. And this even, it's really our delight, Dr. Harvey, to really listen to your story. And my final question to you, Dr. Harvey, is to share with the viewers, our young people who are watching this program. I want you to help them to understand that it's not where they're coming from, but it's where they're going. And just share with us some tips that can take us to the journey and be successful. Dr. Harvey,
thank you very much. And thank you for having me coming back to Westmoreland Federation. Now, here it is. If you want to make it in life, number one, put God first. God must be at the helm of what you do. Having put God first, you must have a good work ethic. There is dignity in labor. You must be willing to work hard. And nowadays they say work smart, but you have to work. By the sweat of your face, you will eat bread. So you must work hard. You must do not take anything for granted. Find persons who believe in you, who will motivate you, who will inspire you, who will challenge you. Associate yourselves with people who are not afraid to tell you when you are going wrong, because everybody has a blind side to them. And when you have those persons as confidant or confidante, the man, the confidant, the woman, the confidante, you have those persons who will bolster you, who will encourage you, people who have your back, and they will pray you up. Even when you're at your lowest moment, they will pray you up. They will encourage you. You need those people in your life. And remember, don't expect the world to be kind to you. Always remember that a setback is a setup to come back. And when you are coming back, you must come back stronger than ever. You must be a resilient person. Nobody can stop you but yourself. Because once God has an anointing on your life, no one can take it. They may put some doors, some barriers, but when God opens it, and even if you just crack the door, you must put your foot in there and prise it open. Once you get an opportunity, take that opportunity, hold it with your full grasp and go for it, because nothing is promised to you, especially when you don't have a name that is recognized in society, when you do not have people who will be rooting for you. All that you will know, if you have God, God plus man constitute a majority, and you can make it with hard work, prayer, and support of those who love you and your diligence. If they want a man, they will find you, because your track record will be there to prove that anything Harvey puts his hand to, he excels, because he's a hard worker, he's a diligent worker, he's a committed worker. They will tell you 3 C's: consecrated, committed, and competent. One of the greatest challenges, they will say, Harvey is frank. He will tell you as it is. But I believe you should have a person like Harvey every time, who will not smile in your face and stab you in your back. The man we will tell you up front when you are going wrong. That is the man that you want to stand on the wall and to be able to guide you. So young people, there it is. The Bible did not sanitize the story of those people who write in the Bible. They had their ups, they had their downs, but through it all, you can see the evidence of God in their lives, because you can see the change. Anyone who knows Harvey will tell you that is the rustic country boy from obscurity, to prominence. That is the one that you are looking at. God has done it for him. He can do it for you. There is no limit with God. He has no stepchildren. He loves you just as how he loves Harvey. So you're viewing this program. You're going through a difficult time. You're on the verge of giving in and giving up because COVID is raging rampant in the world. You have lost your opportunities and you want to give in and give up. Right where you are, in your living room, in your sofa, wherever you are listening, hold on to God's unchanging hand because the best is yet to come. Love you.
Art of the book. Leadership matters, and I know that you want to share with our viewers. Leadership matters. You would have heard the man, a motivational speaker, a preacher, man who served as youth director, served as district pastor, served the NCU, in the capacity he would have shared with you earlier on. But he's the art of leadership matters. You want to share with us, Dr. Harvey, that special book that you have now available that we can go and purchase for ourselves.
Yes, leadership matters. The play of the word, leadership matters. Matters pertaining to leadership. And number two, leadership really matters. Our organization will not rise higher than its leader. So we need transformational leaders. Not transactional leader. A transactional leader will take people where they want to go, but a transformational leader will take people where they don't necessarily want to go, but where they ought to be. Now, in that book, we look at how you can develop the art, the science of becoming that leader that will make a difference. It also tells you, look at leadership motives, leadership styles, characteristics of leadership. Then it goes into the nitty-gritty to share with you some experiences and encounter how you can be that leader will make a difference. Because remember, people will and can thrust you into leadership, and that is a leader with positional power. But if you have positional power and you do not have no persuasive power, you will not be able to do well. You need an eclectic leader, a leader that is grounded in the Lord and can understand how you can take an organization from where it is to take it to another level. The book talks about that. It tells you how you can be that kind of a leader that will make that difference. Because if you're a leader and the lives of your people who you lead are not made better because of your leadership, you would have failed as a leader. I am a people person, from the people, with the people, and for the people. I know what it is. I have been there, done that, and I know how to lift the people up and let them see their true value and worth in going forward. That is what it's all about. And I can't close without telling you that close to me in my ministry is my wife, Lloyda, and my two children, beautiful and handsome, Yolissa, Kayla, and Michael Hugh Harvey Jr. They are my bulwark. They are my support. They are my strength. And I can tell you, those children are the best gift that God could have given to any man on earth. And they are doing well. They are watching. They are supporting. And listen to me. With them by my side, I live for them. I die for them. And I know God will see us through as he will be for all of you in Westmoreland Federation, all of my young people, and all around the world who will be watching this. Listen, let us continue to hold fast to God's unchanging hand. The best is yet to come. You ain't see nothing yet.
That's Dr. Michael Harvey. You would have heard his story. Want to thank you so much, Dr. Harvey, for really taking the time out to join us this evening on our Wesfed Spotlight. It was indeed a very interesting story. I'm sure that the young people who join us this evening, they are indeed inspired. On behalf of the Westmoreland Youth Federation Executive, our young people, our youth leaders, our pastors, our youth director, Pastor Vincent Rose, and the team of conference officers from the West River Conference, we want to say thank you, Dr. Harvey. Your story will go places, and we will use some of those tips and some of those inspiring words to help us to go through even when we encounter difficulty. Thank you again, Dr. Harvey, for joining us, and we look forward for this continual connection as we connect with these inspiring stories. You are from the West, and we are proud of you, Dr. Harvey. Keep on doing what you're doing, and the Lord will bless you so richly.
Thank you very much, President, for allowing me to be here. And for my Vodam, my brother from another mother, Timothy. Thank you very much for having me here, and bless up. God bless you, and take care of yourselves.
And this is where we say goodbye from the Wesfed Spotlight. We look forward for another inspiring interview next month of July, where we'll do it all over again. We look forward to interview our Union Youth Director, Pastor Fletcher. You can't afford to miss that interview with Pastor Dane Fletcher. You just want to remain with the Westmoreland Youth Federation as we highlight inspiring stories. May the Lord continue to bless you, viewers. And this is where we say ta-ta from Wesfed Spotlight.